Okay, the 5 types of fires inside the Jiva. So one is Bhut Agni, the physical fire. Kama Agni, the fire of desire, which can be commonly seen as a lust. Jatragni, the fire of hunger and digestion, and that's the another theme I have seen for these natives. Whatever you give them to eat, first of all, they will eat it all, and they have a very good digestion, especially if the fifth lord, um, for example, let me give you an example. If the fifth lord goes into Kritika Nakshatra, or fifth lord has planet placed like a sun, Mars in Kritika Nakshatra, very good digestion power. But again, depending upon the chart, if sun and Mars are together, what I have seen, again, the imbalance of Pitta, quality. So again, balance and imbalance, that you have to see from the chart. But very good digestion power. Dhyana Agni, the fire of the knowledge. Again, going to the initial slide, it is also, the Agni Dev is also known as the Vedic priest. So these people are very, very good, intelligent, and very curious to know about knowledge. So the fire of the knowledge is keep burning them, especially if you're running the dasha of that. I have seen these people are the most curious ones, so they want to know more, and more. And the last one is the Vadva Agni, again the fire which sits the dormant in the oceans and arises during the Parle, the fire of destruction. So now again, it all depends how the native use one of these fires. Maybe one of the natives might have more of the Kama Agni, the lust. And again, imagine the seventh lord going into this nakshatra of Kritika. Suppose if Rahu is there, or if let's not name the planets, otherwise people get the wrong image of the planets. Already there is a very wrong image of the planets, especially related to the malefics. I don't want to name the planets, but suppose if someone has seventh lord in this nakshatra, and the energy of the chart or the energy of the native is mostly using in the Kama Agni, then he will be very lustful towards the other partners or towards the other opposite sex. That one can see. If the same Agni is used, suppose if fifth lord is going into again the same nakshatra, and he's using more of the Dhyana Agni, the fire of the knowledge, so he's always curious to learn more. So again, depending upon where it is going into the chart, which is very fascinating to observe and see every time in the consultation, depending upon how the person is using these 27 energies, it all depends upon that. But this is one of the 5 types of fire, especially if you have planets in Kritika. So how you are using it, you can post it in the comment section. These are again some of the interesting facts that Sun is in Kritika from May 10 to May 23 every year. Kurma Avatar, Nrsimha Avatar, Pashuramji Avatar are said to be born under when Sun was in Kritika. Saints like Shankacharya ji and Ramanu Acharya ji are said to be born under this nakshatra, and also Ammaji from Kerala, who's again a spiritual leader from the southern part of India, is born under this nakshatra as well. I think she has moon in the Taurus side of Kritika, and again, what I can relate more to her, or what I have observed from her, is that the nurturing qualities of this nakshatra, because you have to understand, moon getting exalted in the third degree of this nakshatra, the second pada of this nakshatra, and the 3/4 padas or the 3 padas goes into the Vrishab sign, the Venus sign. So moon and Venus connection, both are feminine. So the nurturing qualities, and again, going to the mythology part of Kartikeya, of 7 mothers, which is again very well taught in the other sources or on the YouTube. I did not want to repeat that into my slide. So the nurturing qualities we can see from these natives as well. So that is why it is considered both as sharp and soft. And when we say soft, as a nurturing way. Okay. So these are some of the traits for Kritika natives, what I have seen in my research. Huge appetite, a need for recognition, attention, especially by the mother. Again, the mythology plays a very big part here. Lot of surrogacies I have seen in this nakshatra, again, depending upon the mythology. Especially if the 5th lord is associated with this nakshatra. A lot of times when the malefics are looking at it, a lot of times I have seen these surrogacy issues or the fertility issues. So the good protectors to the people like a skanda, very, very protecting nature I have seen. Very straightforward, blunt speech, arrogant speech. Again, 2nd lord goes into that. Straightforward, or even the 8th lord. Suppose if most of you or many of you having Kritika Nakshatra in the 8th house, so it gives the 7th aspect to the 2nd house of speech. Very straightforward, very blunt, very arrogant, very critical thinkers. And again, what I have observed when we say the critical thinkers is like there is a word in Hindu, not like in India, like cutter. कि कभी भी कट्टर नहीं बनना, कट्टरवादी नहीं बनना. So again, depending upon how the native is channelizing this energy in their chart, most of times or some of the times what I have seen, कि ये इतने कट्टर होते हैं अपनी opinion को लेके, they are so opinionated that they become cutter. They go, again, they have no balance of good and bad into them. They totally forget. So the one thing which is very important is not to become a cutter, not to be so critical that you are hurting other feelings or the feelings of others. Don't do that. So that's where you need a reality check, or you need a check that am I balancing that energy or not. So critical thinkers, very good critics, or again, depending upon how they take it, or they cannot take criticism at all, or they are very good in giving criticism to others. Very good metabolism. We have already spoken about. They love doing the barbecue, even though if they are not what I have seen in some of the charts, they love cooking food. If they are not fond of food, they still love cooking food for others. That's what I have also seen. Love doing the fire homas. Many times I've seen good in criticizing others, very independent and self-confident, like a son. Highly critical capability. Again, we're going to talk more about that. Very good example I have taken in this presentation. Lot of good leadership and political qualities, and they have a lot of interest in politics, what I have seen. Again, prominent planets going into Leo or going into Kritika or any sun ruled nakshatra I have seen, they have huge interest in politics, or they work for government most of the times. Again, depending upon if it's 10th lord going into sun's nakshatra. Again, depending upon the full chart, many times I have seen this, yes. Female natives can be emotionally challenged, especially in the Taurus sign. Again, that's what I have seen in my research. Like to eat and cook food, needs all kind of nourishment, yes. Okay, let's discuss some of the strengths. and the negative. Self-motivated, again, very self-explanatory, strong appetite, good appetite, leader, dignified, straightforward, very blunt speech, courageous attitude, unshakable determination. Yes, third lord going into Kritika Nakshatra, very courageous, unshakable determination. Yes, famous within their group, especially if it's going into the eighth lord. Suppose someone has eighth lord, or suppose sun in sun's nakshatra in the eighth house, always the center of the attraction. Or going into the 10th lord, always the center of the attraction, like of your career atmosphere. Okay, some of the shadow sides. Answers too strongly to challenges. Again, the balance and imbalance one has to check here. Unstable mind sometimes, yeah. Passively aggressive, many times I have seen. Indecisive. Expectations are too high, yes. Again, going into malefics, and this I have seen. Dissatisfied. Impatient, this is a common theme I have seen. Very impatient, especially if it goes into the first pada. Very impatient, very impulsive, harsh decision making I have seen. Motivated by the desire, yes. Okay, so this was the image I was talking about earlier, that the Pleiades, the constellation name, how it is like, look like a sword even in the sky. Padas are very important. Again, I'm not going deep into the padas. I don't want to make a 3-4 hour long video, but it is very important where it is falling into Navamsha. It's going to give you the more deeper meaning of it. First pada, the leadership qualities, the fire tattva are going to be more. Second pada is Capricorn, so the ethics, because the Saturn is playing a big role here. Third pada is again Aquarius. The Rahu role will be more prominent. Again, the learning and gaining knowledge I have seen, especially if it's falling into the 8th house. Learning and gaining knowledge of the occult, mysticism, going to the 9th again. Depend where it is going. The 4th pada falls into the Pisces Navamsha. Again, the Pisces Navamsha, not to forget, the Mercury gets depleted here. So again, one has to watch out for their speech or all the significations related to the Mercury. So again, where it is going into the chart depends more upon that. Padas are do not ever sideline the padas. I was the one who never wanted to go deep into the padas, but until I realized it's very fascinating, and you only get to know the deeper layer, the finer layer, how the nakshatra is going to behave into the Navamsh, if you only when you know more about the padas. Okay, so what if someone has sun itself in Kritika Nakshatra, so sun going into its own nakshatra. So we all know sun is the soul, it's our Atma, sun is the fire. Both are hot, bright, fierce, powerful forces of nature. And again, it all depends upon the level of working. So again, if sun is the leader, we all know sun is the king, sun is the government. All depend, the level of working will all depend how he is or he or she is channelizing the energy in an egoistic, authoritative, in a power way. Like, because mostly what I have seen, suppose if someone is having sun in the Aries side, in the ascendant, in Kritika Nakshatra, very easily I have seen ego issues, authoritative issues, overuse of authority on others, overuse of ego issues, power issues on others. Again, if it's going on 10th Lord, you can observe the same thing at your career place. Too authoritative, too egoistic, overly using its power on others. Again, depending upon how the one is harnessing or manifesting this energy, it all depends upon that. So if ego, if the, again, which we discussed earlier in the slide, if heat or the anger, how the fire is fed, regularly fed to Kritika natives. Because if sun is going into its own nakshatra, it is already fed, inbuilt in the DNA, in the Atma. So if ego is not controlled, then the internal fire and the ego, the anger, the over authoritative issues can lead to misuse of authorities and power clashes, which again, if it's sitting in the second house of family, same thing can be observed or can be interpreted for the family, having the misuse of authority in the family issues or in the family, or related to money issues, because second house is also seen for the money. So misuse of authority because of the money in the family. So that's how you have to, if it's going into the fourth house, related to mother, related to vehicles. If third lord is involved with in the fourth house in Kritika, so again, how it is used, misuse of authority with the brother related to real estate can come into effect. So that's how you have to decipher the chart. That's how I try to decipher the chart. So if control, then the person will use the same power wisely, and it is used for very good purposes. Sun is, Kritika has the ability to make the person of a good warrior nature. And that's why you will see prominent planets in Kritika, or prominent planets, I would say, in one of the Varga charts or in the D10 charts. What I have observed, people into military or a fireman. One of my friend is a fireman here, and he has Mars in Kritika. So of warrior nature, or going into, if they are not a fireman, they might be working for a fire department at a different post. Maybe they are into media, or they are into the social media post, but working for the fire department. That also you have to see. Not all the Kritika natives will be a fireman or a policeman or a military personnel. So they might be doing the same job, but different job, but for the same company or for the same department. So that also I have seen. Females, what I have observed, they are not themselves in distress. They are very tough women, especially again going into the Aries sign, or I would rather say going into Kritika Nakshatra. Very tough women. They will accept any challenge, what I have seen. And one of the good examples comes to my mind is who's always in a limelight because of her speech. One of the most influential IPS officer of India, Bedi ji. One of the most prominent examples that comes to my mind for Kritika Nakshatra is Bedi ji. We all know about Bedi ji. So how the planets work in Kritika Nakshatra. So again, these are general terms I have used. If ascendant is going into the Kritika Nakshatra, makes a person very energetic again. Depending upon the other planets, this is again generally stated here. Energetic, truthful. Yes, this is another theme I have seen. They are very truthful, very loyal also I have seen. Very ambitious, ready to accept any challenges, big appetite. Mars goes into the Kritika Nakshatra, like Mrs. Bedi ji have this and as a, I think, as a 7th lord or as an 8th lord, something like that. Very fiery nature, aggressive nature, defensive tactics they use, and she has used that wonderfully as an Indian police officer in our community. Mercury going into this nakshatra or second lord goes as Kritika, or second lord is Mercury in Kritika. Very harsh speech. Always get into trouble because of their speech, I have seen. critical of others, criticizing others, or cannot take the criticism on themselves. That I have seen. Venus, again, depending upon the pada, can be influenced by a lot of materialism. Again, if it's going into the Vrishab sign, it's in its own sign, then yes, this also I have seen. Saturn helps to control the fire and heat of Agni. Yes, Saturn going into a Kritika Nakshatra controls the fire. Because wherever the Saturn gonna sits, it's gonna restrain that. It's gonna Saturn needs sacrifice. In other words, which we can say. So it controls the fire. If one is going through of too much of anger, of too much of heat, or getting too abusive, and Saturn is in Ashwini, in Kritika, for them. So they need to control all that. Otherwise, Saturn gonna keep coming back to them in the other way around. So that's where the reality check is very important. How the planet is behaving in all these nakshatras. Rahu, we all know wherever he sits, in whatever sign he is in, he expends the heat. So if it's in the Aries sign, they can be very loud, they can be very anger issues at a very big level. So sudden blast of anger, yes, and we all know Rahu Ketu are the two shadow grahas which eclipse the sun. So when Sun, Rahu and Ketu are going into the sun's nakshatra, so they have the ability to block the sun's ability to overshadow the sun's aspect. Same goes for the Ketu. Ketu again, depending upon the pada where it is going, issues with when I have written, or when I say issues with the materialism, it does not mean in a bad way. They can have all the materialism again, depending upon in which sign it is it in the pada 1 or is it in the pada 2, 3 or 4. They can have all the wealth, but they still will be very detached from the materialism. So in that way I have written issues with materialism. So सब कुछ होने के बाद भी उसकी इच्छा शायद ना हो, that also I have seen. So again, in which pada, in what house, what aspects on that Kritika Nakshatra explains more, then you can come to a big conclusion that how the Kritika Nakshatra is behaving in particular chart. So these are the general terms. Okay, so some of the careers and the professions we have already, I think, discussed that. Politicians, again, sun going into its own nakshatra. Many times I've seen they are into working for the government, even if they are working privately or as a pro bono, but somehow they are linked, or they are working, what I have seen in my research, they are working on a contract basis as a third party to the sun, to the government, I have seen. So firefighters, police, military, judges, cooks, chefs, childcare providers, because of the Venetian, the feminine quality of this nakshatra. Yes, hairstylist, third lord, again, if you have the combination of other nakshatras, hasta, third lord, again, hairstylist, barbers, rehabilitation specialist, field related to sharp objects. Like one of my own therapist, he has prominent planets in Hasta and Kritika, and he's an acupuncturist. So volcano experts, anything related to fire, earthquake, best critics. So this is the research which you guys can do and put it into the comment section. They are very good critics. Same for the Hollywood, same for the Bollywood, or same can be for any other industry. So very good critics. So famous personalities: Kiran Bedi, Mars in Kritika; Shri Devi ji, late Shri Devi ji; Amma, Moon in Kritika. We just spoke about that. Sanjay Dutt. Again, if you follow Sanjay Dutt, if you knew about Sanjay Dutt, he often gets into trouble because of his speech. बहुत बार उन्होंने कई बार देखा भी गया है सोशल मीडिया में अपनी गाली गलोच की वजह से he gets into a limelight, into trouble. Prince Harry, Moon and Kritika. Again, the nurturing qualities of Prince Harry. I have read it many times. Can be seen from Kritika natives. Putin, we all know about the Russian Prime Minister Putin. He also have Moon and Kritika. So again, the leader, the government, how they are working into the system as well. So here I have taken, if you have seen this movie, then it's very good. If you have not seen this movie and you want to know how the energy, if you really want to understand, or if you really want to see how the energy of Kritika Nakshatra is working, or is how it behaves, then you should watch this movie, Velvet Buzzsaw. I saw it a few months ago. As soon as I saw it, I was like, actually, after watching this movie, I decided the next video I'm going to do it on the Kritika Nakshatra, because this movie was solely based how the energy of Kritika is working. So, and when this movie was released, the D1 moon was in Vishaka, which is again the opposite nakshatra, the split. And then D9 nakshatra, which most of the other fellow astrologers comprehend to that, but I always observe the nakshatras in the Varga charts as well. So the D9 nakshatra, the sun and moon, both was in Kritika at that time when this movie was released. Again, this cannot be a coincidence. So if you really want to see this movie, it was a wonderful movie. And the whole movie was based on how the arts in, like he worked as a critic. That was his role into the movie, and how every kind of art was based on his critics. So they can be, again, that we have already discussed, that these natives can become very critical. And that it is shown in the movie itself. In some of the arts, he was too critical in giving in some of the good points to the artisans. And somewhere he was more biased, somewhere he was very pleasant. So you really got to watch out this movie if you really want to understand the Kritika Nakshatra. It would be easier for you. Okay, and I think that's about it. So yeah, thank you guys. I think I will divide this video in 2 parts, but I'm going to release the video at the same go. So if you have watched the part 1, do watch the part 2 as well. Or if you have seen the part 2, then do watch out for the part 1. And I'll try to continue this series. I know I'm not doing it often as I have other works to do, but thank you very much. And I'll see you all again.